She made it to a cold day. This is a pretty cold day today. -6 degrees was this morning, but Sara Velić still made it to come to my podcast. This is our podcast. This is amazing. Thank you for stopping by.
Sure. Thank you for the invitation.
And you walked a lot.
Yeah, from Josefstädter Straße, but it's really fine.
How's your headphones working? Can you hear yourself? I think you should go a bit closer to the microphone. Yes.
Like
You
this,
can-
or
Can your chair go further than that, maybe?
okay,
yeah.
this.
Yeah.
Okay,
Now it's better.
great.
How are you?
Yeah, I'm fine. Thank you.
I've been following you on your social medias, and
Yeah.
you're a real political activist.
Yeah, a little bit maybe. I'm in the Austrian Student Union, so it
Mhm.
is a lot of political work, and it's also really fun. So yeah.
You how can I translate it well in English? The Vorsitzende.
We call us
Chairwoman?
chair team,
Chair team.
because we're three chairpersons.
Yeah.
You might say, and yeah, we're in the chair team of the Austrian Student Union. In
Mhm.
German, it's called ÖH. Maybe
Mhm.
you've seen it
Österreichische
somewhere.
Hochschule.
Yeah, Österreichische Hochschülerinnenschaft.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
But you're also in the Socialistic Union of Student Socialistic Union. How can I translate that?
In the in the Union of Socialist Students in Austria.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But I was wondering, because I was looking at its Instagram profile,
Mhm.
and naturally you're all over it because you're the Vorsitzende, but you're there alone.
No, our fraction or student organization, you might call it, the Socialist Student Union,
Mhm.
has two chair people. I'm the chairperson that's in the student union, in the
Mhm.
National Students Union,
Mhm.
and we also have a chairperson called Hanna Czernohorski, just for the organization.
Mhm, mhm. How is it to be director of two organizations, or they are separated, aren't they? The Socialistic Union and the
Yes, you can imagine it like in the parliament, in the national parliament of Austria. There's always the parties, and then there are the people with the mandates that get elected into the parliament. So it's like these different levels. I'm in the parliament basically, where I'm also the chairperson. And then there's our party or student organization, because we're not really a political party. And yeah, so my friend Hannah is the chairwoman of the party basically, and I'm of the student union.
But what I meant is, how do you manage to be in the chair position or leading position of two separate organizations in the same time?
Well, it's a lot of work, but there's also lots of crossovers. So you can't really separate the work, because our organization, the Socialist Student Union, really focuses on our work in the student representation. It's really important to us because our organization is actually 130 years old.
Yeah, I saw that. 1879.
1883. That's the
83. Okay,
That's the
I
founding year,
just gave
yeah.
you 4 years.
Yeah. So well, our organization is really old, and it's like a huge this huge legacy that we have, and also a huge responsibility. But it gives us motivation to get active in this legal student representation system, because we also know that our predecessors in 1945 had to fight to establish the Austrian Student Union as we know it, as it is today. It wasn't just magically given. It didn't just magically exist. It was a hard fight that students had to be active for and negotiate hard. And so yeah, we're really proud to have that system. It's also really unique in the European or actually in the whole world. There's quite no system of student representation that's comparable to ours.
In what sense? What do you do better?
Well, we have much stronger legal or political weight. We're legally anchored, so we have our own law as the student union in Austria. And with that law, there's also lots of rights and privileges that other student unions in the world just don't have. So we're also funded financially independent because, you know, the ÖH-Beitrag,
Yeah.
the 20
no
euros
one
you
goes
have to
to the
pay.
university without paying that.
Yeah, it's the 20 euro per semester that every student has to pay, and that's how we finance our political work. And we're not like depending on the government or on anyone else to give us money so that we can do our political work. We're just independent, and we're really strong in that sense. So yeah, that's really cool, and other student unions usually don't have that.
Do you have a big staff, a big team?
Yeah.
How many people work for the student union?
On the national level, there are about 100 people. So we're 70 political, or how should I say that? We're like 70 students that are there because they're elected or they're part of organizations that are elected in the office. And there's also 30 people that just work there as a regular workplace. They kind of do basic stuff in our bureau. They answer emails and make our website, etc. So yeah, but we're 100 people.
Do you manage with the budget? Because of course, like everyone else in Austria, I was calculating how much Österreichische Schule has, what's your budget, your annual budget. And if you see it from the outside, it looks quite good in the sense that, yes, you do have a hand to do some good things for the students.
Yeah, so the budget question is also kind of complicated.
We have time.
In total, we have a lot of money compared to other student unions because of the ÖH-Beitrag. I can't really give you the exact number right now.
I have approximate.
Okay.
If you calculate how many students there are in Austria, which are about 350,000 students, it's approximately 14 million euros per year.
Exactly,
the
but
budget of,
our student representation system is not only on the national level. We have actually 3 levels. One is directly in your course or in your subject. It's the Studienvertretung in German. I don't know if there's an English word for it. And then there's also the local student union, the Hochschulvertretung, for example, the student union of University of Vienna or other universities. And then there's the national level. And we have to take those 20 euro of the ÖH-Beitrag and we have to divide it. And we, the national level, we get the smallest part of those 20 euro because we're also kind of the most far away from the students, and also we have the most members because we're the national student unions.
Yeah.
So the University of Vienna or University of Salzburg, for example, they just get the part of the ÖH-Beiträge, which is from their students at their university.
I'm very curious, how do you feel about, and what can you tell me about the participation of the students in the social involvement that you are part of, the Union of Socialist Students?
Well,
do you have members, like signed up members?
It's differently organized in our in different places. So I'm struggling on how to explain
Say it in German and maybe I help you.
I'm gonna try. We have Landesorganisationen or Sektionen, we call them, because we have like an organization for the students in Vienna and for students in Salzburg and for students in Innsbruck. So everywhere where there's a university, we have like an own student union locally. Yeah.
But you have written members. So is there a number? How many members are part of the Socialistic Student Union?
Active members right now are about 500.
500?
Yes, because we exist all over Austria, and we're also in 11 student unions where we are elected in the chair team and where we do our political work. So that's also how lots of students get to know us.
What is your latest activity?
My latest activity...
In the not private activity, in the sense of the Socialistic Student Union.
Well, in the next semester, there are going to be elections for the student
Yes.
union.
And
So there's lots of
this
preparation.
is your last mandate? I mean, the last months of your mandate?
Yes, exactly. I'm going to be in office until the end of June. And then there's going to be a new team that's going to take over. And we're not going to know who that is until the elections are over, of course. But
How do you feel about it? That you're about to leave the chair?
I'm kind of excited and nervous and also a little bit sad at the same time. But I think mostly I'm stressed because as the active student union, we have to organize the elections. We have to make a huge campaign so that everyone goes to vote, because maybe you've also seen that that not many people go vote. Not all students go vote.
I was going to ask you about that, and one of the reasons that me personally haven't been voting is that I don't understand what you're talking about online in the sense of language. And I also noticed that the Socialistic Student Union Instagram is 100% in German, while there are thousands of non-German speaking students in Austria that you are losing.
Yeah, that's a valid point that you are pointing at.
And sorry to interrupt, so to finish my thought. And the thing is that I'm completely on your side, that students and everyone living here should slowly start to learn German. But first, there are people to whom it will take some time until they learn it, at least 2 to 3 years. And second, there are students who might not ever need German because they're going back or going somewhere else after they studied. But this shouldn't prevent them from being active in the social political life as a student. Even if they stay only 5 years, there's 2 elections, or 3 actually, because they will also vote for the third time, but they will not enjoy the whole of it. But so what's the plan about that to involve even more international students?
Yeah, as I said, it's a valid point that you are looking at here. I think one of the reasons that our social media is mostly German is not really because we don't want to reach international students or get involved with international students. It's just a question of resources. And I think that our social media mostly gets created in the moment when events are happening or there's something to announce. And then, yeah, we just don't really have the time and resources to think about how we could better it or expand our interactions. But I don't want to talk around the issue here. I think it should be possible for us to also speak in English and speak to international students more directly, because we also know that international students really depend on a strong student representation, because the system isn't really that just towards them in Austria. So that's something that we should work on. But our website does have an English option at least.
With
so that's
limited
something.
content, I guess.
Yeah, but also for the upcoming election, we are already translating lots of stuff in different languages, especially in English. There will also be English folders that you can get when we are on the street or trying to talk to people.
That would be a great point for whoever is going to run for chairperson this year, to involve also international students. He or she will surely get my vote.
Okay, that's a good
I like
tip.
that your newsletter is in 2 languages, is bilingual. But then when every link that I have to click on your newsletter, even though the newsletter is in English, then the links are in German. Do you also notice that this might keep away students for example, from applying? You have the program called Sozialtopf. Do you have a statistic of students that apply there? Where are they from mostly, or if they are mostly international students or Austrian students?
We don't really have a statistic that shows which country gets funded the most, but I know that in the recent 2 years or 3 years actually, we had the Corona Härtefonds, the Corona Hardship Fund, where we funded students from 81 different countries in the world. So it is a service that also gets around under the people, under the circles where it's needed. And we also know that students from non-EU countries are definitely depending on us, on our support system, because we know that they're excluded from the legal financial support in Austria.
And also
it's
they
really
pay
restrictive.
a semester fee to the University of Vienna.
It's twice as high as the student fees for Austrians or EU students. And also they have to pay it from the start of their studies. And if you're an Austrian, you only have to pay after the...
you have time until April, I think, if you're Austrian.
Also that, but you also don't have to pay from the beginning of your studies. You only have to pay if you're taking too long in the view of the government.
Yeah, I think you only pay if you have 2 semesters allowances.
You have the Mindeststudienzeit. Do you know the word in English?
The minimum study period.
Yeah, minimum study period, and additionally 2 semesters that are like tolerant semesters where you don't have to pay, and afterwards you do have to pay, but it's only 360 euro, and we know that non-EU students do have to pay 740 euro from the get-go. So
per semester, which is
per semester,
together with the student union fee is approximately 1,500 euro per year.
Yes, it's really
to me this is acceptable in a sense that not to say that this is nothing and everyone should pay it, but in the sense that I kind of understand that somehow EU students or Austrian students compensate this payment with taxes or with their parents' taxes or other stuff. But how is it actually? And do you agree that international students should pay this amount, or they should pay less, or they shouldn't pay at all?
Well, our standpoint is that we don't think that student fees are necessary at all. We demand to abolish them, actually, because we want that everyone can afford to study, no matter where they come from or how much money their parents have. And right now, that's just not possible. You're always depending either on your family or on your job, if you have a job or some kind of income. But studies also show that students that work 10 hours a week or more really suffer in their studies because it's just too much. Yeah. They don't have enough time to focus on their studies.
Studies are a full-time job.
Yeah, of course. And most studies are more than a full-time job, especially at technical universities.
Medicine, I think.
Yeah, and also the natural sciences. That's true, definitely. So I think it's important that we take steps towards abolishing student fees at all, but but I think the most important first step would be to abolish the doubled student fees for the non-EU students, because it's kind of institutionalized racism also in some ways, because we open our doors for everyone, but only if we agree with them, and only if we kind of shut our eyes towards the social injustice somehow. So I think it's not really socially just for the students.
But why isn't so? Why should Austria think about every student in the world? Why, for example, I come from a third world country, and my country should think of me. Why should Austria think of me?
Well, I think you have to look at it on different levels. Non-EU students don't just only have to pay the 1,500 euro for student fees. They also have to apply for a student visa, and in order to apply for that, you also have to prove to the country that you're financially stable. And in reality, for most students, that means that they have to have at least 10,000 euro on their bank account, and they're not allowed to really touch that money. They're not allowed to spend that money on their living costs in Austria, because it could happen at any given time or day that you are being re-evaluated for your visa, and if you don't have exactly
you mean during the
10,000
application
euro
period you can't touch that amount?
Yes, but also generally during the COVID pandemic, we saw that lots of students were being re-evaluated for their visa, and
I was one of them.
Okay, so and they were really stressed out because there was basically no income for nobody. Everyone was really struggling, and they weren't allowed to use their money because then they would lose their status. So that was a really difficult time, and I think it still could happen that you are being reevaluated, and if you don't have exactly that minimum, then you could get problems with your visa. So there already is a mechanism that's kind of checking people's financial status. And if you require people to have at least 10,000 euro on their bank account, plus they have to pay 1,500 euro, it's like such a high hurdle that only students who have relatives that they can count on financially, or like jobs or something, or really high paying jobs, I would say, can afford to come to Austria. So it's not really socially just.
Besides all this, I think another problem is that they should count somehow that once someone gets the visa and plans to get a job, for example, they can give a 3 months allowance. Let's say someone applies for a visa, for resident permit, and they make let's say a contract with MI35, and they say that within 3 months I will get a job and I will finance myself. And you do have to get a job, and they can easily check if you got that job or not. So some sort of automated system. Let's say I don't have this 10,000 euro up front, but my plan is to work 20 hours per week and get a job that pays this much as a minimum, and I will support myself. Could that be an option?
I think that would already help, because we're unpacking another problem here. Students from non-EU countries are also not allowed to work in the start. They have to apply for they have to apply for
permission from Arbeitsmarket Service.
Yes, they need an admission. Yeah, that's the right word. In order to be able to work, and then they still have a limit of 20 hours per week. So you're only allowed to work part-time. And if you look at the part-time Löhne,
that I don't know.
Gehalt
or salary.
Yeah. If you look at the part-time salary, then you see that that's not enough money to pay your rent, pay your food, pay whatever you need to study, and additionally put something on the side. That's just not going to work. So the system is kind of built in a way that students can somehow come, but there's lots of hurdles. But also the country doesn't really want them to stay permanently here, because they're prohibited from getting a full-time job. And of course, at some point, everyone needs to work full-time. We know how the system works, unfortunately. So you don't really have a perspective here with a student visa. And I think there's just lots of bureaucracy that's causing lots of problems for students, and really selects only those that have the capabilities at home, in their home countries or in their families, to finance them to get all that way. So I think the double fee that they have to pay when they finally arrive at the university is just another slap in the face somehow, because they've already managed to pass all that. Why would they need to pay the double amount? So you mean that
maybe they can skip the first semester fee and they can start paying from the second semester to give them time to find a job and finance their studies or something?
Yeah, that would be a good first step. But in the end, I think my political conviction, is that the right word? Überzeugung. My political belief in the end is that everyone should be allowed to study without having to pay student fees at all. So I hope that we can work our ways towards that.
It sounds like a lot of money that the universities make from international students. How else can they replace this money if they make it for free?
The government should pay for it, because, free education and inclusive education is a human right. It's not just something
for the citizens of the country that is building the system.
But it's also
talking about international students.
It's also a right in the UN Human Rights Charter and in all the international papers, contracts that there are in this area. So I think that we should kind of focus on building an international student system, university system, higher education system, where it's just affordable for everyone. And I know that this is something drastically different to what we see now today at all the universities in every country. I know there's like a way worse situation in the UK or in America, where people have to take up student loans that are extremely high just in order to study. But I think it's important that we have also that kind of student voice that fights against that. And I know that also lots of other student unions in other countries are working towards abolishing the student unions, but it's a hard fight.
Do you frequently communicate with other student unions in other countries? You have good relationships?
Yes.
With which one the most?
The Austrian Student Union is also part of ESU, the European Student Union. And there's basically a student union from every country in Europe that's part of that. And our most frequent contacts are, of course, with the German-speaking student union. So Germany, Switzerland are like really good partners in our cause.
I'm going to use the word copy, but it's not the right word, but do you copy from each other? Let's say you have a program and you share it with them and let's implement this thing.
Yeah, we influence each other a lot, because in the European Student Union you can also discuss different points of view or different systemic ideas and changes that one student union think is really important for the whole European higher education area, and then we just kind of vote on them also. So it's almost like a European student parliament. And we definitely discuss lots of different topics and share our experiences and learn from each other.
What changed in the last almost 2 years that you've been in the office? What did improve for the students?
For the students, well, I think the most important change for the better was the higher support system, financial support system that we now have. The legal financial support from the government was, for the first time in history, adapted to the inflation rate, and it's also gonna adapt to the inflation rate every year now. So it will also rise alongside to the rising of the living costs and living expenses.
You're talking about the one called Stipendium?
Studienbeihilfe. Yeah, Studienbeihilfe. I don't know if there's a specific term in English, but
it's student financial support.
Yeah,
sort of.
Yeah, we call it that. Maybe you have a better idea, but yeah, it got higher. And as I said, it adapts year by year. And also there's an age limit. It was 30 before, but now it's 33. So you can apply for the Studienbeihilfe until 33. And then there's like another financial support system called Selbsterhalterinnenstipendium. It's a complicated word.
Like a self-supporting.
Yeah, self-supporting. If you're self-supporting, basically the idea is if you've supported yourself financially for at least 4 years and you decide to take a break from work because you want to study, then you can apply for it. It should help people that are already in the work life to take up a degree that they want to pursue, to help them in their career or whatever. Yes, exactly. So that's how you can apply for it. And there has also been an age limit at 35, and now it's at 38. Our dream would be to abolish all the age limits, but unfortunately it wasn't possible this time.
Talking about age limits, the one thing I don't understand and I'm sort of don't accept is these sort of memberships that they do in Austria. For example, if you're a student, you're allowed to get discounted annual membership and stuff only up to 26 year old. A student is a student at every age. So if he's under 6 years old, it means that he's not working, just as a student that is above 26 year old, or is working 20 hours per week. That's the only time he has. Even not, I'm not talking about the legal limits that international students have only 20 hours, but even an Austrian student can't work more, even if he wants or she wants to, because that's how much time you have left from your studies maximum. So what is this thing that you have to be 26-year-old to get discounted public transportation ticket, for example?
Yeah,
and how fair is that to you?
I think it's completely unfair because it's not just a feeling. We know statistically that the students are not only 26, and students are getting older and older, statistically speaking. And we know that they have more financial needs and worries if they when they grow older, because there's just more responsibilities you have to take on. You also can't rely on your family anymore to pay for your insurance, for example, or other living costs. So I also think it's really unfair and kind of illusionary to think that everyone above 26 can just pay their own, just come up with everything on their own.
So based on what?
Based on wild guessing, I think. There's not really a logical explanation.
What's the guessing that now you're grown up enough, go to work and support yourself and pay the bills like everyone else? If you're a student and you prove that you're studying and you haven't passed the study limit that the government has offered you, that means that you're equal to a student that is below 26.
Yeah, that's completely true. I just think that this number somehow randomly got into the law.
It's even a random 26. It's not just like you finish high school and you have 4 years there and above 24, let's say, or 23, then you don't get the discounted memberships anymore. But how do they came up with 26 and how do they calculate it? I don't understand. What's 26? Based on what?
I also don't really know, because the financial support system by the government that I have mentioned before, there's also Familienbeihilfe, which students can get if they have been continuously in education since their high school. So if you never stopped going to school and to university, you can get Familienbeihilfe until you're 24. And that's also the age up until which the parents have to finance you by law. That's in the law in Austria, like that. But it doesn't really make sense. I kind of understand that you don't. I kind of understand that the government says, okay, your parents have to support you until this and that age, but the government should take the money that's necessary to make studying affordable for everyone that's over that age, and also kind of take the money so that all these bonuses and the lower prices that you have mentioned for the public transportation, etc., are affordable and manageable for the students. So I don't really understand why that is, but we talked to the government a lot about that. They just said it costs us too much money to abolish this age limit or to make it higher.
What are they saving the money for? This is one of the basic things.
They are saving the money for
next pandemic,
some company friends or whatever, some economic needs that they claim that there are. They don't. This government in particular doesn't really care about all those social needs and the social state as it might have existed a few years or decades ago. So they just think everyone has to fend on their own.
It sounds very, very weird to me to hear these things about Austria, because I'm a complete outsider in a sense. And like many other internationals here, I see Austria as, at least Vienna, as the almost perfect place to live. But you're telling me a lot of things that doesn't make it perfect anymore. So what's your standpoint for the most livable city in the world? Does it deserve the title? Do you know who do you compare Austria and Vienna to? For example, when you say let's do this thing, for like France is doing it, which is your comparing country?
I think that doesn't really exist in that way.
Then it means that Austria is better than everyone else.
No, I wouldn't. I would definitely never say that. I think
Okay.
Austria has a long way to go. But I think that there are countries that we can look at and where we can say, okay, somehow the education system is more inclusive and socially just. Maybe we can look at what they are doing
What
differently than
country
us.
has a better inclusive education system?
I think it's difficult to say. There are the Nordic countries that have really good statistics
Mm.
in the middle school level, in the secondary education level, I would say. But when it comes to higher education, they again have higher student fees than Austria. So you can only look at certain
Mhm.
aspects. Um, but I think that for example, Vienna is the most livable city in the world because there have been lots of working class movements
Mm.
and political movements where people really had to fight hard for their rights and for their living standards and their working rights and working conditions. And the political system kind of had to give in to that pressure, or also partly was run by the working class themselves and knew their struggles and also fought for their more livable conditions. And that's how we got here. But in the last couple of years, there have definitely been tendencies that have been working against that social state, because a socially just education system at the end is something, is like an extended social state also,
Mm.
or affordable health system,
Mhm.
healthcare system is also part of the social state, etc. But there have been lots of tendencies in the last couple of years to all to privatize lots of sectors,
Mm. Like what?
to, for example, privatize pension insurance or
Mm.
health insurance. And there's actually a big crisis in the healthcare system in Austria right now because there's kind of a two-class
Well,
system.
we just passed the pandemic. That's
Yeah, yeah.
of course there's a crisis in the health system,
That's
but
true. Yeah, no, it's kind of like a two-class system where there's public insurance,
Mhm.
which almost everyone has, but it's not affordable for everyone at all. It's really expensive, but
It
it's like the
is.
most
That's true.
basic insurance. And then there's lots of private insurance companies that offer kind of better service, or they claim to at least. And the problem is that many doctors are claiming that they don't, that they are not valued enough in the public insurance system,
Mm.
that they have really bad working conditions and that they just don't want to put up with it because they had to go through a really hard education and had to work hard their whole lives basically to get to where they are. And so they like to work with the private insurance
Yeah.
system more. I'm really explaining everything badly right now because of my
You're
English, but
explaining
it's
it
basically
perfectly
the
because you're
that's
explaining it
basically the
for
point.
us that we
Yeah.
don't have any specific idea about this thing. So you're doing it exactly what how do we need to hear it without
Nice.
specific statistics and terms.
Yeah, yeah. But the main point is that if you only have the public health
Mhm.
insurance, you sometimes have to wait really long until you get an appointment. Your
For
doctor,
months, that's
yeah,
true.
yeah, that's true. Your doctor doesn't really have the time and the energy or the resources sometimes even to treat you rightly. So, and all of that is worsening because more and more doctors and people in the health sector just yeah, are fed up with the working conditions.
There's the bureaucracy is famous in Austria, but you're also leading right now an institution. Do you have bureaucracy in your institution?
Yes, a lot.
Yes.
Way too much. Way too
What
much.
do you do about it? You go to the office in the morning. Why the hell have you been so late with these papers? Do you yell there?
Well, it's not the problem that we are working too late or not fast enough or something. It's just there is too much paperwork that we have to go through. And there's kind of different viewpoints to that. One thing that we always sort of fear is that the government puts all that bureaucracy on to us, because they don't like that we are political, critical, and loud.
What do you mean they don't like? They put by law that every student has to pay you every semester. They
Yes.
definitely like you.
Well, that was a different time. It was 1945, and
Since then, it's been by law, the student union fee?
yeah,
Really?
yes, since 1945, over 70 years now. And I think that the political environment has really changed, and that especially the Austrian People's Party, that has been in the government for a really long time now, doesn't like to have loud and critical representation systems or representation organs. They don't like the Arbeiterkammer, and they don't like us.
The office work, the working office.
Yeah, exactly. Because we clearly have a different standpoint on lots of things. We want to change the system. We want to abolish lots of negative aspects, like the student fees, for example. But these are all things that they really stand for, that are really part of their crucial values. And it has sometimes also been like a strategy of them to lower our voice so that they can go on with their work without students protesting all the time or pointing their fingers at them all the time. So that's one thing. But the much bigger problem is that there's just generally too much bureaucracy in Austria, in the public legal system, or Verwaltung, as one might say.
Have you met the chancellor?
No, I have seen him in person, but I have never talked to him.
Do you want to meet him and tell all these things?
We actually asked for an appointment multiple times, but we were never granted a visit or something.
What do they say? He has no time?
Yes, they say they are too busy. We're frequently meeting with the Ministry of Science. The minister is Martin Polaschek right now. When we started at the student union, it was Heinz Fassmann, so there has been a change. And there we always talk about these things. We always bring our problems and standpoints up, but we just know that they are really on a totally different standpoint. They basically never agree with us, so it has been really hard. But there is lots of correspondence with them, and on the smaller things we usually do agree and manage to do something together.
Are you a communist?
I would say I'm a socialist, but I wouldn't say no to communism.
Because, in the manifesto says that the communist should never say that he's not a communist if he's a communist. So are you, or you're not?
Okay, in a broader sense, yes.
In the paper sense, in the book sense, in the manifesto sense, not in the history of communism that we know.
In the theoretical sense, I think it's difficult. I would say I am for communism, and I am a socialist because I want to achieve
How
communism.
How do you separate
one day.
those two for someone who doesn't know the difference? Because if you go to America and say to someone that you're a socialist or that you're a communist, it's the exact same thing.
That's
they
true.
are scared from both things the same way. And they will probably throw stones at you. So how do you separate that?
Well, I think there would be lots of different answers from different people. But what I just think, what's in my mind is that the idea of socialism is to overcome the current capitalistic system, to make way for a more just and inclusive and free system for everyone in the world, no matter where you come from, how much money your family has, or what you want to work, etc. And there comes a lot of different things with that, and socialism is kind of the political ideology that overcomes this capitalistic state, and it makes room for a possible communist regime. But yeah, I think lots of people have different ideas about what that communist regimes might look like. There's people that say, oh, we don't want to build a system at all. We don't want to build a state. We just want to live in a free anarchist society. Exactly. But then there's also people that say otherwise. An anarchist system. I think if it would be possible, I would be fine with that. I would be happy about that. But right now, I just can't wrap my mind around it. Because I think that we need a state that defends the socialist idea, the socialist society and freedom for everyone. Because the rich people, the capitalists, the owners of the companies, they won't just give up their privileges freely. They will put up a fight, and we need some kind of defending mechanism so that we can build a free society.
I like that you blame it to the government, because a lot of people blame it to the rich for no reason. The rich is doing his job in a sense that is to become rich, but the problem is the ones that allow him to be rich on behalf of other people who stay poor because of that. So that's where the government comes in to not allow this thing.
Yeah, definitely. I think the government has the full responsibility to verteilen.
Yeah, that's a hard word even for me. But
to divide. The government has the responsibility to divide the wealth of a society so that everyone can afford to live and to work what they want to work, to learn what they want to learn and study, and just to be themselves freely, independently. But right now, that's not what's happening. The government is only enabling people with lots of money and capital to grow their capital and profit, and not really giving anything, not really taking enough from them and giving it to the people who need it, the people in need. And what I think is really threatening and sad is that people are always talking about taxes. The taxes are too high.
They are, in your opinion?
No, I don't think so. I don't think the taxes are too high, especially the taxes for the companies, the international companies. The taxes have been lowered by the Austrian People's Party and the right-wing Liberation Party, FPÖ.
That's their job. If they are the right wing, they want to make it easier for businesses.
Exactly. But I think it's really the most horrible thing you can do. And also the taxes have been lowered again during the pandemic, where it was the People's Party with the Green Party in the government, because of the pandemic, they claimed. But I think we see that Amazon and other companies on the whole world have made such an enormous plus because of the company, because people use their services more, and because they had so many financial aids from the governments.
That's weird. Amazon just fired 10,000 people.
Yeah, that's weird, because Amazon prioritizes their profit over humane working conditions and affordable living and affordable wages. It's crazy that what Jeff Bezos is doing is legal, but it is legal. There's even, have you heard that in Venedig, in Venetia, I think in Venice.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, in Venice, there are being bridges torn down so that, or was it in Venice? I think I just mixed it up. I just mixed the location up. But
that's fine.
Basically, there's a bridge being torn down so that Jeff Bezos's yacht gets to pass through a certain canal. And I think that's just like
that's
the peak
so cool.
of capitalism.
It is.
Yeah, but
it's like an old bridge or something. Or?
Yeah, it's an historic bridge. But when you have money, you can go through the world and do what you want.
Yeah,
that's
there's this joke about or maybe it's not even a joke, maybe it's true. There's a general in the army. They go to fight in another country, and the general orders his army to bomb a bridge. And a soldier says, General, that's a very old bridge. We can't bomb that. That's too much even for us. I said, that's an old bridge. Yeah, that's an old bridge. Well, don't worry. We'll make it more beautiful and older when we build it again. So probably Jeff Bezos is going to build it again soon.
Yeah, we'll see. But well, the problem is just that there's not enough regulation. The government is just not taxing the companies enough. And with all that money, you could do so many really important, valuable projects. Like you could change the education system for the better. You would never even need those 740 euro from international students for semester by semester if you just kind of re-divided the money from all the companies and all their profits, because they don't need all that much. They don't need that much money to cover their costs, to cover their production costs.
There's this because there are these taxes that are according to the salary, to the annual income, and people who make, let's say, from 1 million euro per year, they pay 54% taxes. That means that if my salary was 1 million per year, I would pay 540,000 euros per year to the government. How is that a bad taxation? That's a lot of money. That's the amount of money that 20 people need in Austria per year to live normally.
Yeah, but who needs 1 million euro per year to afford their living?
But he can have it. Why shouldn't he?
Well, that's the point.
Because if you mean that maybe he shouldn't because he doesn't need it, then we're not talking about changing the government. We're talking about changing people's minds and how they think and mentality.
Well, yeah, but I also think that the government has a very responsible role when it comes to changing people's minds and convincing people of what they need and what they don't need and what they believe in. So I think if the government would put on a limit on how much someone can earn, for example, that would maybe be a first step into that direction. I don't know. But I also think that it's the bigger problem in the end is still the taxation of the companies, or maybe the missing taxation of the companies, in my opinion. So that would be the bigger fish to fry for the government. But the wages are definitely another hot topic, because there's so many people that earn way too little for their work and can barely afford their living, their housing, their families. And it's just really not fair to see that some people that just had lots of luck when they were born, in which family they were born, and what resources their family already had, etc., have just so much more wealth, and it keeps on growing. So it's like really like a scissor that goes into two totally different directions, and we have to close that scissor somehow if we want a more just world.
It's a bit controversial what you're saying, in the sense that on one side you say that people should have equal possibilities at birth. On the other side, you say that the government should limit people's incomes. But if they have equal possibilities and chances at birth, it means that whoever is best or more skilled can go further. Why should we limit him? If they start in the same starting line, if they start the same, if they have been trained the same, in the sense that they have the same, for example, I agree with the free education, so they have to have equal chances to succeed in life. So why limiting them in annual incomes and stuff?
Well, I think that we're simply not there yet. There is no same starting line for everyone.
So until
it's just
then,
always different. And I think to limit the way of wealth accumulation would be a step towards making the start line more equal for everyone. And then, maybe we can talk about it differently. But I think that in the way our education system and economic system works right now, it's just way too different, way too unfair what chances some people have because of where they come from, and other people just don't have those possibilities. And it's not just something that I'm talking about because of my political beliefs. There's also lots of studies that show that your heritage and also the education background of your parents, they really play into your educational success.
Definitely.
So you can see that also on a statistical level. And I think, that's the main focus, or that's the point where we should really focus at right now.
Well, yeah, that makes sense. Of course, a student that doesn't have to work during his studies and can only focus on his studies, of course, he has better chances to succeed than a student that has to work 20 hours per week.
Exactly.
And still can't afford can just afford the minimum basis that he can get from his life.
That's true. And also, if you have parents that can pay for your living costs, or maybe they even own an apartment that they can give you, or whatever, or your parents have been to university themselves and can help you with your studying and your work, that's also like another privilege that working class students don't have and struggle more with, and aren't just as familiar with all the academic field as other students are. So there's just lots of different aspects that come with it. And the financial support system for students would definitely be a big a good starting point.
Talking about the good financial education system again, would should that also include hospitality, in the sense where students gonna stay during their studies? Should that also be free? Of course, if I ask should that be free, the answer is yes. But in the sense, is that also part of your project and plan, or the thing that you're fighting for?
Well, I think the most important aspect is that it is accessible for everyone. But I'm not saying that you should make it free for everyone without them even needing it
based on
free.
Income.
So the Austrian financial support system for students works through the economic income of your household, of your family, and yourself as a student. And based on that, you should adapt the financial support that you give a person, and you should just always give a person that much that they are able to just freely study. And I think it's really important that you give the students enough money, actually, so that they don't have to work additionally because of all the negative effects that we've been already talking about. I don't need a financial support system where it's only like an additional 100-200 euro per month, because what is that? I can't afford anything with that. I want a financial support system which really covers everything that I need for my studies so that I can focus on them.
But that's easier to manage for students that come from Austria, or even from without the European Union. I'm telling you, it's almost impossible to manage the documents that international students can bring to Austria to prove that they can afford their studies. And I know many people, and I know how easy it is to get false documents from abroad that say that the student doesn't have enough income to pay studies, so he should profit from the government, from the Austrian government. Maybe that's a reason why they still don't do it.
Well, maybe, but
people, trust me, there are many people out there who take advantage of the Austrian government benefits. Even if you don't consider them too much, there are still people who take advantage of it and lie.
Well, there's always gonna be some examples that somehow find a way to get advantage or get the money without maybe actually needing it. I don't know. I just think if we look at the bigger picture, we shouldn't worry about those people. We should worry about the people that actually, honestly, need the money. And with the system being as restrictive as it is right now, we're totally losing them. We're leaving them on their own and not helping them at all. So I wouldn't deny them the support that they need just because of some people who tend to work against the system or tend to use the system for their own advance. And there's always I think there's always ways to control the system, to evaluate and
but it takes time.
Get transparency. Yeah, it
When
takes
you ask
time.
for these things to change, would you tell them we want it all and we want it now? And they tell you it takes time. What would you say? Do you accept the answer that these things take time? These things take decades to fix.
I think I would get angry about it that I have to wait so long, because I know that there are lots of people.
Smash the door, leave the office.
Yeah, and maybe sometimes you just have to prioritize and say, well, yeah, this change is so important to us that we focus more personal support and resources.
That could be the same answer for the health system.
Yeah,
which
also
one
for
they're gonna prioritize?
Exactly. You just, after all, the government has to somehow set the priorities and then divide the resources that they have to cover them all. But I think that our education system and our healthcare system really have to be priorities right now when we look at our society. And well, I also think that if the Austrian government won't change our financial support system for the better, because they fear that there are so many people that use it just for their advantage, and then the government decides to not change it for the better, I think it would only make the system worse on the international level again. I think through the European Union or other unions in the world, the Austrian government could get active in other countries as well, or motivate other countries to also better their financial support system, so that, yeah, maybe this won't happen that much in Austria.
Were you born here?
Yes, I was born in Austria.
But your parents were born in Bosnia?
Yes. I was also, I had the Bosnian citizenship until I was 2 years old. Yeah, because my mom also had the Bosnian citizenship.
So you've been a little expat for some time.
Yes.
Here in Vienna.
I have lots of experience. No, I was actually born and raised in Vorarlberg. So this is really far away, almost in Switzerland.
Is that the most expensive area in Austria?
No.
How they say? No?
No. It's not the most expensive one, I think. I think the most expensive area
Tyrol.
is Innsbruck, yes, Tyrol, and also all those crazy rich kids skiing places like Kitzbühel. Yeah, all those famous places, they're more expensive, I think. So Vorarlberg is also quite expensive, so you usually pay more for your rent than in Vienna, which is kind of crazy because it's not that big and not that...
You're not really motivated to live there, so why should the rent be up?
Yeah, that's true.
Mean, yeah.
That's true. But yeah, it's completely different too, you know.
Tell me about the way you sing.
Yeah, well, unfortunately, since I've moved to Vienna, I didn't really restart my musical career.
When did you move to Vienna?
I moved to Vienna in 2018.
To study?
Yeah, to study.
What do you study?
I'm studying political science, and
of course.
Yeah, of course, somehow. But also at the Technical University, I'm studying city planning, urban planning.
What do you mean? And studying city planning? You're studying both?
Yes, I try to. I'm mainly studying political science right now, but my other subject is also really interesting to me, and I want to pursue it more when I'm done with my bachelor in political science.
It seems like you're used to run two things, to running two organization, running two studies. Anyway, tell me more about your songs. I heard the Higher.
Yeah.
But honestly, that's the one I could find online on YouTube. And you should send me more if you have more somewhere, I don't know, on Spotify or YouTube. Where do you publish your songs?
I don't really I don't really publish them. I used to upload like mini videos on Instagram or something like that, but I never really professionally recorded my songs, except for Higher one time with my band in Vorarlberg. But we were kind of starting writing our own songs and really enjoying that time together, etc. Right before I moved to Vienna to study. So the other guys, they were still at school or also moving to study to other places, and we kind of had to give up the band, unfortunately. So yeah, that's also that's why it's so short-lived, my musical career.
There goes a dream.
Yeah, but I'm still singing for myself and playing the piano, and I hope that...
You're playing the piano?
Yeah.
You're going to play in the piano right behind you after this podcast.
No. I'm not that good, unfortunately. But yeah, I hope to take up singing lessons and maybe look for a new band after my time at the Austrian Student Union, because I really miss it.
That's your plan?
Yeah, I think that's one of the most important aspects. Also, I do have to find a job so I can financially support myself after the student union.
That's in June?
In June, yes.
Your mandate ends?
Exactly. By the end of June, I'm done with the student union.
What field are you going to look for a job? I mean, will these experiences be based on your job seeking period, or?
I think I'm gonna look for a job in the political field. I don't know. I don't want to go to a political party or be like a politician.
Are you a fan of any of the existing parties?
A fan.
Do you support any of them?
Well, the VSSDÖ is affiliated with the Social Democratic
Which
Party.
one is that?
The SPÖ, the Social Democratic Party.
Okay.
Yes. So that's my political... That's what's probably like my closest political surrounding.
Mm-hmm.
But I wouldn't want a job in that... a political job in that view, maybe.
Maybe just to keep yourself politically active, but not as a full-time job.
Yes, exactly. Also, I think that most jobs are in fact political. People just don't really see it always.
Political, it's not a bad word. People think when you say when you ask them are you political, they only think that if they are a fan of a party or something. But political is everywhere, in everything they buy, in everything that gets more expensive. But they don't see it, and they only consider political supporting one government or one party or the other.
Exactly.
How do you explain that in a sense? Because I really think that this is important to tell this difference to everyone so they can vote even more or something. So do you usually make even conferences to explain why being political is important? And why not being part of the politics? What's the difference between being part of the politics and what's political?
Yeah, well, that's a big question. But
it was, I said too many words.
No, it's all right. Yeah, maybe to start somewhere.
We will go back to you singing. Don't worry.
No, it's all right. We always try to politicize students as a student union and a student organization, and the Socialist Student Organization has those bags filled with all kinds of goodies and study material that every student needs in their daily life, and always hands them out at the beginning of the semester. And on the front of the bag is the
The phrase.
Mm-hmm. Oh yes, the phrase from Rosa Luxemburg.
Mm-hmm.
Being unpolitical means being political without noticing it. So unpolitisch sein heißt politisch sein ohne es zu merken.
Maybe this is also a good chance to make those bags even in English.
Yeah, that's a good chance. That's true. And with that, we want to open the eyes of all the students and make them see and make them understand that all our decisions in our daily lives, even if they seem private, are really in fact political decisions and have a political impact on our lives and on our lives as a society, and also on our system, on our student system, education system. And yeah, that's just a way that we want to motivate people to really ask themselves critically who they want to be and how they want to affect our world, and motivate them in the end also to get politically active the best case with us in our organization. But yeah, that's just something that came to my head hearing this question.
Are you a feminist?
Yes, I'm a feminist.
I saw that you have celebrated an achievement, and this is not only related to feminism, but you celebrated an achievement of the Socialistic Union of the Students, that you officially included, I don't know to find the right term, you built the all-gender toilets at the University of Vienna. Is that correct, or did I understand it wrong in German?
No, it's correct. The student union there established the all-gender or gender-neutral toilets, and I think they were negotiating really long and hard with the university there to manage
Earlier
that.
you talked about the government prioritizing some necessities. Was this something that also the Socialistic Union of Students had prioritized since they have been working hard and finally reached it? Was this one of the main topics and problems?
For our colleagues at the University of Vienna, yes. Unfortunately, there's not a gender-neutral toilets in all universities in Austria. It's something that we always try to demand from the government and from the university, but it's not
But how
everywhere.
is that suddenly the most important thing to fight for? I'm not talking against it or pro it. I'm only asking.
Well, it's not the most important thing ever, I think, but it is something that can feel like the most important thing for the students that are automatically excluded
How
by
many
not
are
having
there? Because there are
gender-neutral
certainly less
toilets.
than the people that need that. There are certainly less than the students that need financial support or other support or
I think that's the
jurisdictional
wrong.
support.
I think that's the wrong question to ask, because a gender-neutral toilet doesn't cost you any money. It doesn't
Okay.
cost any money for the state,
But it costs
or
you
for
time.
the government,
You said
or
that
for the
you've
university.
been doing back and forth with the university for a lot of time, and you're working hard on this.
Yes, I think it was hard negotiations in a way that we had to address it again and again. We had to really convince the university in order to build those toilets, but it was not hard in a way that it cost much, because in fact you just have to change out the sign at the door, and it's just first of all, it's really important for the people that don't fit into the into the binary system of our binary gender system, and it is really a priority for everyone to feel safe at the university and to feel like they have a place and that they don't have to be ashamed.
But isn't that
by
all
which
gender
bathroom they have to
toilet
go.
something that objectively, when you hear it, should decrease the safety, because then everyone can get there. Instead, if they choose between a male and a female toilet, it means that they know what to expect. If they go to male toilet, they expect males. If they go to female toilet, they expect females. If they go to all gender toilet, they expect both of them there, or all of them, all genders.
Well, if you're...
So how does that increase the safety of people who don't identify themselves with a gender?
I think it gives them a place, and a rightful place to be at, and that they don't have to feel excluded from either toilet, the female or the male one, because that's all that there is. And
isn't really all that there is, actually?
No, I think that there are lots of gender identities, but I think in the most public places and the university, there are mostly only female toilets and male toilets.
That's also because the university is an old building.
Yeah, but the universities are always expanding. There's always some kind of new institute or new building that they are building, and there are lots of different toilets, and just changing the sign at one door so that everyone can feel welcome and appreciated, I think it isn't much to ask for. And it is really making an impact for the students that feel like they don't have a place to go, or maybe they have fear to go somewhere and be harassed or something like that. So
I would, if I was a woman, for example, I would be more scared there would be arrest in an all gender bathroom then.
but it's not like there are only all gender toilets. There are also the female toilets and the male toilets, if that is your fear.
So why was the university opposing so much all this time, or was avoiding it or ignoring it, your request? What did they say during all this time that you worked hard for it?
Well, I wasn't involved firsthand because I'm at the
In this
national
project?
level. Yeah, and
Okay.
this was only at the University
Because
of
I
Vienna.
only saw this at the
Yeah.
Instagram, so
Yeah.
you can
no,
correct me
sure.
wherever I'm wrong. Don't worry.
No. My colleagues, Tuma, the chairwoman of the student union at the University of Vienna, she and her team achieved that. So she knows all the details. But
Okay.
I think that mostly it was just a problem that it was an awareness problem of the university. And at most universities, that the university is just not that aware of how some aspects of their institution isn't that inclusive for everyone, and is exclusive, is also sometimes discriminatory. And it's a lot of work for young people, for young student representatives to point at that and demand a change and also get that change.
I understand. This is for on your side, but why were they resisting? Do you have any hint for that?
I think they just didn't realize or failed to acknowledge the problem. I think that's just it.
And then what they did, they just put a sign on?
I think so, but I think also that it's not, this is a prime example that it is not unpolitical. It is a political decision if you have a toilet for all genders or not.
Okay.
So maybe the university just wasn't ready to
you mean it might be a matter of mentality? If the university's mentality wants to shift in that way or not, to accept the all genders?
Yeah. I think it is a mentality shift, and it is a political shift, and it symbolizes that this university has place for more than two genders. More than two genders can go to the bathroom without being questioned, harassed, or discriminated against. And I think for the people that don't identify as a woman or as a man, this is a really important sign, because there's actually lots of more struggles for queer people in the university to really live their identity. And
do you know any specific case that a person that doesn't identify their self with the gender have had problems or being harassed?
There's always harassment cases.
Always? That's big
at many
statement.
At many higher education institutions. So it's just internalized sexism and homophobia, and students have to deal with problematic teachers and students also, unfortunately, on a regular basis.
But that's outside the toilets. I'm talking about inside the toilets.
That's outside the toilets, and inside the toilets also. I can't really name anything or anyone, but the problem was, but the student union was aware of that problem for a long time now, because it was a real problem, and lots of students were coming to the student union.
It was a real problem or a real request?
Both, of course. It was a real problem for many students, so it became a demand for the student union. But what I also wanted to say was that in the Austrian universities, you can't freely choose your own name on the online database.
You can't?
You can't.
Why should you?
Well, for example, if you want to change your name because you identify as a different gender and want to change
your name doesn't identify your gender. It's just a name. I know people with the name Andrea. I know men Andreas, and I know female Andreas.
Well, that's a name that our society kind of accepts for females and for males. But when people go through such a change, or just identify differently as what they were assigned to at birth, they do want to change their name and their pronouns, and they can't. It's just not possible, unfortunately. and we are also trying to lobby for that to change, because who the hell cares at the end? Why should the university care that you want to call yourself something else?
Because your university is a legal institution. It doesn't just go on demand. Some people can change the name every week on the account of the university. If you want to change your name, you can go to the legal institution and change your name for real.
Well, that's unfortunately also a really extensive and restrictive process, but the main problem at the university is that that you can't change your pronouns also, and that you are constently being addressed
you
maybe in the wrong way.
He, him, she, her. You can't do that at the
university?
university?
No, you can't do that. You the only chance you kind of have, the only hope you have, is to talk to teachers and tell them what your real pronouns and your real name is, or that you want to be called by, and that they listen to you and actually act by it. But that also is like a forced coming out in every course, at every confrontation. So it's really hard and unwelcoming somehow for the students. So it would be really important to enable some kind of mechanism for students to be able to change their name or pronouns freely. And I know it's not possible for everyone to change their names every week or something.
Yeah.
And that's not what I'm asking. I'm just asking that it can be changed in a situation where it's really necessary for the person.
That's not Instagram or Facebook. It's the University of Vienna. One of the 100 best universities in the world. You can just change your name as you wish. That's your legal name. But that's the name you register with your passport or ID. So that's what you're getting in the University of Vienna as well. If you don't want that, you can go to an institution, and I don't know where they change names here in Austria. Isn't that the option?
Well, there is the option to change your name and gender identity legally, but it's a really extensive process.
So they want the easy way.
Really restrictive. And I'm not saying that people try to misuse a system or to change their name somehow. I think it's just important for people to have the right to call themselves what they want, and also at the university, because at the end it is similar to a workplace. You have to be there every day, every week. You have to spend a lot of time with the people there at this institution, and you just don't want to feel unsafe or don't want to have that coming out moment all the time. It's just really stressful for many students, and unfortunately they are also often they also often receive negative responses and harassment. So in order to minimize this conflict potential, it would just be easier for all of us to establish some way of a system, and so that everyone can just choose their name.
Going back to where we started with this conversation.
Yeah.
You said that, not that you said in the sense that that's the point, it's that the all gender toilets are necessary so the people who don't identify themselves with a gender can feel safer, and I understand that. Because if they go to a male only or a female only bathroom, they might be discriminated. That's correct?
Yes.
Then should we also have an all race toilet where people that are not white can go there so they don't feel discriminated in a white toilet? So where the black people can go, the Asians, the Mexicans, the Arabs, or me, because so no one tells me, hey, you're a black man, or hey, you're a yellow man, or you're a brown man, or...
I don't think that it is necessary or helpful to divide people with different backgrounds.
That's not a background. That's DNA.
I don't know if it's...
I just want to know if you consider this as the same thing or no.
No, I wouldn't say it's the same thing, because the toilets that are divided by gender, that's not just something that the University of Vienna does. That is something that happens all over in our society. It's just the way that system works.
Okay.
And it's important to have an option where everyone feels safe. But if we want to talk about students that are not white, students with migration background, I also think it's really important to create a safe space for them at the universities, because I know that there's also lots of
toilet, not
racism,
a safe space,
and also lots of discrimination. I wouldn't know that a toilet would be necessary, but I'm all for creating some kind of people of color chill out area, or some kind of safe space for them where they can just be without having to worry about being harassed or something like that. I think that's really important. If the students are saying that they also need a toilet for their own, then yeah, why not? As I said, it's not that hard to change a sign somewhere, but I just didn't realize until now that that would be an issue.
I haven't heard of it. I was just comparing, and it seems pretty close situation to me as well. But on the other hand, to me, how I see racism and not racism, to me, it's not racism if you don't see any difference. In a sense that I have zero reaction when I see people of color. Some of my best friends are people with color, so I don't really see any color at all. So that's the same. Shouldn't that be the same thing? Instead of organizing toilets and safe rooms and other rooms separately, shouldn't we try to keep them included in the society and in all genders and in all races, in the sense that instead of trying to, because when you give a safe room to specific target group, that means that you accept that that's a problem, which is good, accepting the problem, but as a solution, you don't try to integrate or to so in this case, the problem is not the people that don't identify themselves with a gender, is the people that discriminate these people, right?
Yes.
So instead of correcting the racism, we approve the racism and we just keep these discriminated people safe, separated from the discriminators. So shouldn't be the solution, instead of separating them, to bring them closer together and bring down the walls? And that's also my answer to my question: if there is a safe space needed for people that come from different backgrounds, as you define them and call them, to me, it wouldn't be a solution. To me, the solution is to erase the walls that white people see for people with color. Wouldn't that apply also to the all gender safe space?
I think, well, just to kind of break this comparison off, I think it's just two totally different types of discrimination.
Okay.
So maybe you can't just compare every aspect of it. But I think that the point that you're trying to make is right, of course. It is important to change the people that are the problem, the discriminators, in both cases. And you have to educate them. You have to make them aware of what they are doing, and that they are hurting other people, that they're discriminating against them. And you have to somehow, educate them for the better. But at the same time, I think it's necessary that people of color do have a safe space where they just don't have to worry for once about maybe being harassed or constantly stared at or whatever, getting into uncomfortable situations. I just think you have to kind of go both of those paths to achieve a anti-racist university.
So like, until this thing is solved, we have quicker solutions and we have long-term solutions.
Yes.
This is like a quick solution.
But I think it's really important that we also look at what we are actually learning in our subjects, and that we kind of decolonize our subjects, the contents that we are learning, and that we also include different perspectives into our curriculum, because most of the theoretical work that, for example, I am learning about as a political science student is really Eurocentric. And there's only, well, the main theories that we are learning about are from old white men from the 17th or 18th or 19th hundred. And it's always the European narrative. It's always the narrative of the colonizer states.
Yeah.
It's never the narrative of other places in the world, of people that have been discriminated against and also forced into slavery, etc. So I think it's important to include those narratives also in most subjects, in every subject where it's possible, so that this learning process can really start.
That's true. Completely makes sense. What's gonna sound like and be named your next song?
I don't know. I think it's gonna be a political song. I currently
Face
have
up.
an idea. Yeah. Left fist. No. I don't really know about the title. The title always comes at the end when everything is done. And yeah, I'm currently trying at my piano to work at something a little bit.
A revolutionary song with a piano.
Yes, with a piano, because it's the easiest to play when I want to sing along.
Well, what you're looking for to start a new band here in Vienna? Maybe I know someone who knows someone that wants to join your band.
Yeah,
what
maybe.
part of your band are you looking for, or everyone?
Basically everyone, yes. Well, I'm the singer. I'm looking for instrument players.
Instruments only.
Yeah. And I'm totally open.
Do you also play the guitar?
I also play it a little bit just so that I can accompany my voice when I'm singing alone.
And to look cool.
To look cool.
As a lead singer?
Yeah, totally. No, when on stage or with a band, I think I wouldn't play an instrument. Additionally, I would just like to focus on my singing. But if it works out with the guitar or the piano as well, then I'm also happy to do that.
You gonna write your own songs?
Yes, I do write my own songs, but right now this part of me is kind of is the smaller part in my daily life because of the political work that I have been focusing on now for a couple of years. I hope that I can go more into my music after the 30th of June.
Yeah. When or where are you going on vacation?
I don't really have vacation plans right now. I want to go somewhere where I can just lay around, enjoy nice weather, hopefully warm weather. And the last couple of years, I always went to Croatia or somewhere on the Balkan sphere. And maybe that's gonna happen again, because I really like it just to go on holiday by car or by train and not have to fly somewhere. So something in the area.
Do you have still your grandparents in Bosnia?
No, unfortunately, they are dead already.
But you go there? Do you
Yes,
have other
sometimes.
people?
Well,
Relatives?
most of my relatives from Bosnia have also migrated to Austria or Switzerland or Italy. Partly there are relatives that still live in Bosnia but work in Croatia and Slovenia, so they have to travel a lot. But yeah, my family is kind of all over Europe with this.
Like most of the Balkan families.
Yes, it's the Balkan diaspora.
What's the situation in Bosnia? Is it messed up?
The political situation, yes. Actually, I'm not following all the news all the time because it's just depressing.
But you can see the difference if you go there and
yes.
you go there from Vienna, you can totally see the difference.
Yeah, you can. And I have been to Bosnia last year for a totally different cause. I was there with the organization SOS Balkanroute, which supports refugees that are going along the Balkan route. And this is also just a prime example that shows how the system isn't working at all, because the people in need are left on their own, and no one in the political system really can help them or wants to help them. And it's just really depressing, because it's also affecting the locals in Bosnia, really. So I hope that there will be change soon.
Then I wish you the best of luck. And
Thank you.
I'm extremely curious to know what's going to happen after June with you. And I will ask you, how did it go? And I wish good luck to whoever will replace you.
Thank you.
And good luck
Thanks
with
for
everything.
the nice talk.